In order to get well prepared for FIFA 22 as a goalkeeper, I'm going to go through all the basic controls that you need to know, as well as the more detailed stuff. I'm not going to waste your time, so let's get into it. First off, let's get into the role of each button on the PlayStation and Xbox controller and what they actually do. Your most basic left stick is to move around, whereas your right stick is to dive. Your L1/your LB has multiple uses. Say there's a loose ball that's come off the opposition, your character can go collect it using the left stick. Then if you dribble back into your box and then double tap L1, your character will pick up the loose ball. Additionally, by holding your L1 or your LB, your player will automatically position himself where the ball is nearest. So if the ball's on the right side and you're holding your L1 or your LB, your player will position himself in the positional dot seen on your screen. Your R1 or your RB on the other hand, it doesn't do anything. Neither does your L2 button or your LT. They're basically useless as a goalkeeper. On PlayStation, the touchpad is to change your camera angle so it'll either follow wherever the ball is or it'll just focus on your goalkeeper. R2 or RT are just generally to sprint, and then you have triangle/Y where your player will rush out towards wherever the ball is. He automatically locks onto it and he rushes out quickly. Tapping triangle will also drop the ball on the ground if you've got it in your hands. Your square and circle button or your X and B button on Xbox, they are mainly dedicated towards kicking, so whether it's a goal kick or whether the ball is in your hand, you can use either one to generate a long or short kick. And your X/A button is to throw the ball when it's in your hands or to just pass it out from a ball that's on the ground. Now I'm going to get into some tips as well as a little bit more advanced stuff. The first of which is that you should use your left stick alongside your L1/your LB, aka your auto position. Whether it's prior to a cross or whether it's prior to a 1v1 or generally speaking when the opposition is approaching your box. By holding L1/LB, your player is in the best starting position that he can be in. And then using your left stick, that's when you can take slight steps into the position that you think your opposition is going to shoot. So if you think he's going to shoot to the right, that's when you take a slight step to the right prior to when he shoots, and then you dive with your right stick. Or if you're anticipating a cross, just before you think the opposition will cross the ball, that's when you can take a slight step with your left stick away from your positional dot, and you will take it closer to the crowd of players where you think the ball will be crossed to. That way, your player will come out and collect any loose balls and crosses. I did a full video on this particularly important tip, so I will leave it in the description. Tip number 2, and a lot of people have asked me when you should use your right stick. Do you do it as they shoot? Do you do it way before or after they shoot? Just generally speaking, when do you use your right stick to dive? And the answer to that is to use your right stick just as the opposition shoots, and you gotta make sure that you do not tap it. Instead, you gotta hold it. If you do it too early, the game might register you as not even diving, so your player won't really get an animation and you will often concede. Whereas if you do it too late, the same can be said. So tip 2 is to use your right stick and dive in the position that you think your opposition is going to shoot towards, just when he shoots. Tip 3 is that R2/RT should never really be used when rushing out to collect a ball. If there's a 1v1, try to instead focus on using your triangle/Y when rushing out. It'll help you lock onto the ball instead of your goalkeeper just rushing out manually, and is generally the way to come out when there's a 1v1. Also, you'd like to come and close the gap between you and your opposition when there's a 1v1, when the opposing player is in and around this area, and just before he's going to take an extra touch. This way, you'll be able to get to the ball prior to any shot or chip or ball roll. The opposition is likely not to be able to do anything if you get the timing just right. Tip number 4 is the use of R1 and square used together or RB/X, depending on if you're Xbox or PlayStation. By using these two controls, your goalkeeper will be able to do a long and low goal kick, and is something better when aiming towards a shorter player. You can also use R1/square or RB/X when the ball is in your hands, and this generates really accurate, fast and low kicks. You generally just want to tap these two buttons at the same time. Try not to hold it for too long, just tap it. Tip number 5 is that you can do really good kicks using circle on PlayStation or B on Xbox. These kicks are really important if you want to beat the last line of defense. If you see that the opposition defense line is quite high and there's a split between the defenders, by powering up circle/B into that position, your kicks will often beat the last line of defense. And if you have a winger running through or a striker running through, your players can get to the ball and be straight through on goal. Something that is so important and really useful. Tip 6 is that holding X on PlayStation or A on Xbox generates a really long throw if you have the long throw trait on. Look to utilize these a lot because using long throws is a really quick way to get the ball straight to your outfield players. So it's great for counterattacks and such. Tip 7 is that the use of square and X combined on PlayStation generates a fake throw, whereas this is X and A on Xbox. Fake throws are pretty intuitive, so I'll let you decide on when to use them and when not. So those are generally the most basic controls that you need to know as a goalkeeper, as well as some more advanced tips that'll help get you an advantage over the opposition players. I'll be back with my official FIFA 22 goalkeeper build, but in the meantime, stay safe and I hope you enjoy the newest release of FIFA.